Hello and welcome viewers, you're watching In Depth with your host Kriti. The Speaker of Lok Sabha is the presiding officer and the highest authority in the Lok Sabha. The Speaker is generally elected in the first session of the Lok Sabha after the general elections. The Speaker maintains order and discipline of the House during the legislative session and presides over the joint session of the two Houses of Parliament. In this edition, we have packed everything for you, from election to role and responsibilities of Lok Sabha Speaker. So come along. Lok Sabha is composed of representatives of the people chosen by direct election on the basis of Adl franchise. The total elective membership is distributed among the states in such a way that the ratio between the number of seats allotted to each state and the population of the state is so far as practicable the same for all states. An exercise to redraw Lok Sabha constituencies and boundaries is carried out by the Boundary Delimitation Commission of India every decade based on Indian census, last of which was conducted in 2011. This exercise earlier also included redistribution of seats among states based on demographic changes, but the provision of the mandate of commission was suspended in 1976 following a constitutional amendment to incentivize the family planning program which was being implemented. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha is the presiding officer and the highest authority of Lok Sabha. The Speaker is elected generally in the first meeting of the Lok Sabha following the general elections. The history of Lok Sabha Speaker goes back to 1919. The terms Lok Sabha Speaker and Deputy Speaker were added much later. The institutions of Speaker and Deputy Speaker originated in Government of India Act 1919 in the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Up to 1947, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker were referred to as the President. The Governor-General of India used to preside over the Central Legislative Council before 1921. The Central Legislative Assembly's first Speaker and Deputy Speaker, respectively, were chosen to be Frederick White and Satchidanand Sinha. The first Indian to be elected as Speaker of the Central Legislative Assembly was Vittal Bhai J. Patel in 1925. The Government of India Act of 1935 changed the titles of President and Vice President to Speaker and Deputy Speaker respectively. However, the previous titles were still in use until 1947 because of the federal portion of the Act of 1935 was not put into effect. After independence, Ganesh Vasudev Mavalankar was appointed to serve as the Speaker of Lok Sabha from 15th May 1952 to 27th February 1956. M. Iyengar was the first Deputy Speaker and then Speaker of the Lok Sabha in Indian Parliament, serving from 30th May 1952 to 7th March 1956. The Constitution of India has specified the provisions of Deputy Speaker and Lok Sabha Speaker in Articles 93 to Article 96. The salient features of these articles are: Article 93. The Lok Sabha shall, as soon as may be, choose two members of the House to be respectively Speaker and Deputy Speaker thereof, and so often as the office of a Speaker or Deputy Speaker becomes vacant, the House shall choose another member to be Speaker or Deputy Speaker, as the case may be. Article 94. Vacation, resignation and removal provisions for the offices of Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Article 95. Power of the Deputy Speaker or other person to perform the duties of offices of or to act as the Speaker. Article 96. The Speaker or the Deputy Speaker not to preside while a resolution for his or her removal from office is under consideration. There is no specific qualification to be elected as the Speaker of Lok Sabha. The Constitution of India states that he or she should be a member of the Lok Sabha. Usually, a member who belongs to the ruling party or ruling coalition is elected as the Speaker. Here is the procedure for election of the Lok Sabha Speaker. The date of the election is fixed by President. After the first sitting of the Lok Sabha, the Speaker is elected by the House from amongst its members. The candidate's name is suggested by Prime Minister or the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs. If the House is newly constituted, the Speaker pro tem will preside over the election of the Speaker. The Deputy Speaker takes the gavel if the election takes place later in the term of a Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition lead the Speaker-elect to chair once the results are declared. The term of the Speaker of Lok Sabha is for 5 years from the date of his or her election. Let's take a look at some of the interesting points to note regarding the term of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. The Speaker continues to remain in office until the first meeting of the newly elected members after the general election. He or she is eligible for re-election. The Lok Sabha Speaker can vacate his or her office in any one of these 3 cases. If he or she ceases to be a member of the Lok Sabha, if he or she is removed by a resolution passed in the Lok Sabha, or if she or he resigns by writing to the Deputy Speaker. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha is not entitled to cast a vote. However, he or she has the power to resolve a deadlock. Let's take a look at the role and powers of the Speaker. Interpretation. He or she is the final interpreter of the provisions of the Constitution of India, the rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha, and the parliamentary precedents within the House. In matters regarding interpretation of these provisions, he or she often gives rulings which are respected by members and are binding in nature. Joint sitting of both houses. He or she presides over a joint sitting of the 2 houses of Parliament. Such a sitting is summoned by President to settle a deadlock between the 2 houses on a bill. Adjournment of sitting. He or she can adjourn the House or suspend the meeting in absence of 1/10 of the total strength of the House, which is called the quorum of the House. Casting vote. The Speaker does not vote in the first instance, but in the case of a tie, when the House is divided equally on any question, the Speaker is entitled to vote. Such a vote is called a casting vote, and its purpose is to resolve a deadlock. Money bill. He or she decides whether a bill is a money bill or not, and his or her decision on this question is final. Disqualifying members. It is the Speaker who decides on the questions of disqualification of a member of the Lok Sabha arising on the ground of defection under the provisions of the 10th schedule. The 52nd Amendment to the Indian Constitution vests this power in the Speaker. Chairing of the IPG. He or she acts as the ex officio chairman of the Indian Parliamentary Group, which is a link between Parliament of India and various parliaments of the world. He or she also acts as the ex officio chairperson of the Conference of Presiding Officers of legislative bodies in the country. Constitution of committees. The committees of the House are constituted by the Speaker and function under the Speaker's overall direction. The chairmen of all parliamentary committees are nominated by him or her. Committees like Business Advisory Committee, the General Purposes Committee, and Rules Committee work directly under his chairmanship. Privileges of the House. The Speaker is the guardian of the rights and privileges of the House, its committees and members. It depends solely on the Speaker to refer any question of privilege to the Committee of Privileges for examination, investigation, and report. The President designates a member of the Lok Sabha as Speaker pro tem when the Speaker of the previous Lok Sabha steps down immediately before the first sitting of the newly elected Lok Sabha. Typically, the most senior member is chosen for this position. The President swears the person in and has all the Speaker's authority. However, once the new Speaker of the Lok Sabha is chosen, his or her term ends.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.